I know you guys have been handle the quarterback thing fine, but is it good to have a guy now quarterback where you don't have to think about it, worry about it, whatever?
Yeah, I say it's good to have your dude. Who you're going to be rocking it out with for most of the snaps this season. But our number two guy is ready as well. We have full confidence in him, and like I said, we got full confidence in the dude who's taking the one rep. So both great talents, and we're excited to be moving forward.
Do you notice any difference in Kyle this week in practice? Probably getting more reps, but any change in him at all now that he's the guy?
No, not too much change. He approaches the game very professionally, and he's done that since we were freshmen. So no really change from him. Just going about his business like he normally does.
Does it help you guys to get more reps with Kyle this week?
Yeah, it does. We get reps with him, tons of reps, but you'd be surprised at the limited amount of reps that you do get throughout an entire week. If you really calculate them all up, it's not that many. So you might not get every look you want every single time with the right quarterback. So just being a student of the game and taking mental reps is a huge part of it as well.
How much more comfortable did you feel just in week 2 last week with Kyle than maybe you did in week 1?
I don't think it was a comfortability level. I've been comfortable with Kyle. We've been freshmen, or we were roommates our freshman year, so we got used to throwing the ball together and catching the ball together. It was more just getting into the swing of things as an entire unit. Like speaking on the offense, I feel like we all elevated our game, and we're going to continue to do so throughout the weeks. So we're looking forward to playing Western Kentucky. We got a great game plan. So shout out to the coaches for that, and we're just looking to execute and play hard.
How important was that for you just to make some plays last week and kind of get that with that?
Yeah, it was. It was good. You love to make plays out there on Saturday. But even if the ball's not coming my way, I'm gonna, do my best to get my best effort, whether it's blocking on the perimeter or, running clear out routes for my other dudes so they can get the ball. So we're just looking to get wins on Saturday. That's all we're trying to do. How good could he be?
He's the next in line here. Guys have gone to the Heisman ceremonies, etc. How good can he be?
I don't really want to speak on it, but I have an idea of how good I think he could be in my mind. But the work that Kyle's put in, I wouldn't be surprised if he has some pretty impressive accolades over this season. So we're just going to keep stacking days as a team. He's going to keep playing great football like he's been doing. And at the end of the season, you guys will see where he's at.
Do you see a lot of fire in him? We've seen fire in him a lot. What do you see in him that makes him special?
Yeah, absolutely. He cares more than just about anybody on the team. He's the last dude to leave the facility every single day. So he puts in the hours, and he does a lot of hours on film. He's a student of the game. He's really smart. So that's one of the most impressive things about him because, he's not necessarily a scrambler or anything like that. He just throws a really pretty ball. He's a master of his craft, and he's going to continue to get better day in and day out.
You play 2 teams that have milked the clock on you. West Kentucky's going to air it out, probably a lot of possessions. How much are you guys looking forward to that time?
Yeah, we're super excited. You play teams every week, especially in the Big Ten, where it's smash mouth football, and they try to run down the clock because of maybe our high-powered offense. But just to be able to know that we might get a lot more snaps this week, just because the clock won't be running, they might have less possessions than us. So we're just trusting our defense to get some 3 and outs, play well, and we're trusting our offense to score every time we get an opportunity to.
Michael Ryan talks a lot about the clock, the rule change of the running clock. Do you guys feel it on the field?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll say I was aware of the rule going into Indiana, and then I felt like the game was over at halftime. With respect to last year's clock rules, so it definitely goes way faster. So just knowing that, you have to play with a little more sense of urgency, and you have to execute better on every single play because you don't get that many opportunities.
Did y'all openly talk about that? The coaches and stuff about being even more efficient.
Yeah, it's been a huge emphasis for us. Not even just in the season, throughout spring ball, throughout fall camp. That's been something we've really been emphasizing, just staying on schedule, and executing plays because you're not always going to get them back.
You mentioned Kyle being a student of the game and spending a lot of hours on film. How do you see that pop up in his play, in practice and in
Yeah, and so when you get to the game on Saturday, you oftentimes get a look that you don't really expect for a certain play call that you might thought would work. But Kyle's prepared for a lot of situations that face him, and he's really taking the coaching from Coach Day and Coach Dennis, and even CJ just throughout the years, just learning from him. So when a play breaks down, you don't really see Kyle, not scramble, but he's not flustered too much. He's able to make something out of nothing, get the ball to his playmakers, and go from there.
Don't study a collaborative effort between quarterbacks and receivers sometime, and then you guys have to be on the same page with certain defenses running certain routes.
Yeah, absolutely. Kyle sends me clips all the time, like, hey, if they're playing like this, then you got this or something like that. So you definitely have to be on the same page, because if, it takes one dude out of 11 players, like on defense, if one dude misses his coverage but the ball doesn't go that way, it doesn't really matter. On offense, if someone misses their block, the whole play is kind of screwed. So you really have to be on your P's and Q's when it comes to offense, and you have to be on the same page with your quarterback when you're running routes.
Okay, everyone talks about how calm and cool and collected Kyle is. When was like the first time you realized, oh man, this guy's super relaxed? Like,
I would say freshman year, his first start versus Akron. I was kind of joking around with him because, I wasn't feeling the pressure. I wasn't starting my freshman year. So I was in his ear. I was like, dang, you're starting this, man. You're starting this week, man. Are you nervous? And he never really showed any signs of it. I'm sure he's feeling it a little bit, but he was able to calm everybody around him and kind of just keep the offense level headed, even with CJ not going out there. So Davidson came in. He's making plays. I mean, he was a freshman All-American last year, so you kind of expect that from him. I think he's a little better than what we even expected. I think the ceiling is super high for him. Jordan's playing well. Lathan's playing well. Proc. Young talents like Malik Hartford. Like, I just see BIA as becoming this, one of the best groups in the nation.
Great. Emeka, thank you very much. Thanks again for staying tuned. All right, folks, we have Coach Justin Fry on the middle 20.
Always going in.
What's been the emphasis this week? Obviously, Brian Day didn't leave any doubt that he would like to have seen the offensive line play a little better last week. So what's the emphasis, I guess, third week with these guys?
You have good tape and good meaningful reps now to look at. So being able to visually show the guys when you do your job, when you execute the communication, your technique, this is what happens. And here's what happens when you don't. So the emphasis of, yes, effort, execution, the demeanor is pressed. But those fine details, like we can never get away from them, but you can't have the guys being processed by analysis. So now there's good tape to look at and say, all right, here's how we got to execute it. Here's the intensity. Here's the demeanor. Maybe that's something you get in a scout look or something changes on Saturday. And you get that week 1 to week 2, because what are you really game planning? You got 10, 12 games from the year before, and then maybe 1 or none here too. So we've got to do a good job as coaches, and I got to do a good job of giving them the right amount of information, the right amount of stuff to put in a briefcase to take the work, and then letting them go play fast. So that's what we've been really pushing them on. We do some things really well. I thought, communication, protection, when we know where we're going and what we're doing on the same page, it's been good. And then same deal. Maybe you get into a long drive, or maybe early on something doesn't go well, you're behind the sticks. You can't have that front runner mentality. You've got to go get half. You got to get back on schedule. So the learning part of the game, we've seen now what hurts us, and we've seen now what we do really well. So I think with that, just learning and growing from those is what we got to take into this week.
Short yardage issues that you've had, I'm sure it's a combination of things, but what do you see?
We all have to be efficient. I mean, up front, you look at, there's 5 guys. So everyone's at the POA because there's more people in the box. There's more people down. So we've got to help each other out that way. And then as you build on, do we add 1 tight end or 2 tight ends? Or then do we have a good read at the back? So I think it's just the cohesive effort of the run unit on that page or on that play. We've got to be efficient and help each other and not be a one or your twosie, because the more people you add to the box, the lesser room for error you have. And so that's where we've got to be more complimentary there as a whole. But really, that just starts with us up front, moving our guy, giving the back a chance to press, giving the quarterback a chance to read something a little better, and just executing better.
How confident do you feel right now that the 5 guys you have out there for right 5?
Well, it's still week by week. But, yeah, those guys have been grooving and playing together. You got guys from the back. You got Vic. You got Tegra. You got, Enix coming along. So those guys are getting meaningful reps in practice. It's just a matter of if you want to overtake the guy, then you got to be the guy. If you're the guy and you want to keep it, you got to press. So I would say from, Monday through Friday deal, we come out and, you're going to err on a Wednesday practice and a third down look you haven't had. You're going to have some of those. But pressing all the way through the week, we've had that. We've just got to carry that into the game and bear a little more fruit and more consistently by relying on what we've done during the week, because those guys are pressing and pushing each other. You get all the way to the end of the week, like you probably saw my fat out of shape butt on the bikes with them. Like there's no lack of want to, demeanor, or grit that way. We just got to execute better.
So if there's a word this week, is it more consistency? Is it more aggression?
We've been saying violent.
Violent?
I've been putting that in our just in our demeanor and our stuff. And like, you want to really be a tough guy, then be a tough guy all the time. And so we've got to play more violent. We can't be lines on a page. We're not making a ton of mental mistakes, which is a positive. We've got too many POAs and point of attack mistakes that we've got to go with. And you can solve that through aggression and violence by being a line on a page. If I'm the tackle and the playbook page says block the 3 technique, that's not how you block the 3 technique. You have the 3 technique and you got to go freaking block the 3 technique. And so if there's any of an emphasis that, it's been that of like, let's be violent in executing our job, because we're pretty good at communicating, know where we're supposed to go.
You've got video probably of y'all doing it right too, right? I mean, several series, etc.
Yes.
You play those up more than anything?
That's the roller coaster ride. Yeah. You show the really good. You show the execution of whether it be protection, whether it be a run play. You look last week, we were on the first play of the game. We roll up the ball. They bring a pressure. They had a 6-man to the box. We had it up and we go for 9. We're an arm tackle away for opening the game, going whatever it was, 70, 75. The next play, we make the right call. We're a line on the page and we get a holding call. That was another run that negated a 6-8 yard run. So that's what I'm saying. Like, we get to the right people, but what's your demeanor and how you're getting there? That's what we got to execute and clean up.
So you're using the word violent there. So in those short notice situations, is it the execution or just the lack of push because of the lack of violence?
Well, as I say, we're on the right people. We got to block those people better. We got to be on them better. And then when we do it, we got to make the right cut. If all 5 of those guys do it, then whoever's adding to the box to get it's got to do it. Or, so that's what. So we've got to help each other, because I say, just numerically, if we have 5 blockers and they have 5 defenders, then it's man on man. That doesn't happen in a game of football. So how do you equate numbers? You're going to leave the widest. You're going to trade shift in motion or run away from the widest so that you're giving the back that one guy for a yard or 2 yards. You add more people to it, then you can block those 7, but there's an 8th guy there because you're not reading, you're not throwing off of a guy. And so the more you equate to it, you have to be efficient that way. And then just, everything that goes into it, the new clock, the number of plays, like there's a bunch of different factors going there. So what's that mean for us? Rebite back to what we go. If I have that 3 technique, I got to kick that 3 technique's butt. All right. So,
how much of that is just overall mindset?
Yeah, but probably a lot. You can grade a play a bunch of different ways. Like, I got an S, I did my job. I got an S, I got to my job, but was there a high effort or execution or a critical point that you got to? So emphasizing those, and like I said, being able to teach off of those. And the next time that shows, like that's a matchup game or that's you versus me and we're both the same, how am I making that block versus not making that block? It's got to be that violent, that execution, whatever that may be.
Justin, are your 5 best run blockers the same as your 5 best pass blockers? And how do you balance that when you start to figure out how you're going to institute starting 5 offensive line?
The holistic approach is like he's got to be a good lineman. So you have to be able to do both. I think you're more looking at that, Spencer, like you wouldn't have a guard playing on the perimeter being a tackle because he can't pass pro out there, but he's inside and he can handle that. I just got over. I'm on the bike. I'm too blown out to really process that one too deep. I'm not trying to cut your question off, but you have to be able to do both. And then it's our job to put the guys in the right situation of, if you wouldn't say, making it up, but if you wouldn't have true drop back tackles, then you can't call 5-man empty drop back protection. You've got to chip and release and do that. So I think execution wise, we've got to do a good job. And we try to do that of putting our guys in the best situation, reverting back to be that line on that page and go do my job when I do that. So you wouldn't put a non-pass blocking guy in a situation like that. Does that make sense? Hope that answers your question that way.
How do you evaluate the line's hand placement for these first couple of weeks? Because some of those holding penalties, the hands to the face, those are things.
Yeah, I mean, when you get those egregious ones, like, yeah, I mean, you watch Josh Simmons from last week. He's gluing his hips, he's running his feet, his hands goes high. You got to feel that and get it out. He had one 2 or 3 plays later where Chip busted for 9 or 10 yards, the exact same profile, the exact same hit. His hands started to go high, and he pulled it out and put his hip on him. And then Chip pressed and slid. I think we got up to the 2 or 3 yard line. So, I mean, yeah, you get those. Why are those happening? Well, that's because my technique or something wasn't taking me home, or I wasn't rebite or fixing that. And you just got to feel that. You got to learn from them, and you have to grow. And now we have to go fast because there's no room for error. And you put a bunch of those together, it's already hard enough to gain those yards with extra hats in the box or a blitz pattern or something coming at you. So we have to be cleaner that way.
Justin, you're saying you feel like you're blocking the right guys. It's not mental mistakes, right? Am I to paraphrase for the most part what you're saying?
We've cut down on mental mistakes. We got to execute at the point of attack.
So when you're an offensive line coach and you just want your line to play better, what's easier to try to fix? If it is mental stuff, hey, we're not doing the right thing.
I mean,
or is it easier to fix physical stuff?
You have to put them in the situations where there's less thinking. So, I mean, those good plays, I mean, you guys all watch the tape, watch the game. Like, you can tell when all 5 dudes know what's going on. It just looks like a wall, whether that's here, whether that's my son's playing in, highest junior high, middle school football. Like, when they know what's going on, those 5 guys that don't know much are just rolling off the ball in a run play. If you're protecting the right guys, you're able to do that and play fast. The more you put on their plate or the more you put in their backpack, they're carrying more. They can't play as fast. So that's our job as coaches, saying, how do we schematically put them in the right situations to go, give them those reps, and then how do you intensify those reps or quantify those reps in a scout team versus a good-on-good period? And we just have to keep pressing and coaching that, and they have to keep taking it.
Two more questions. We talked to you like a month ago. We were talking about the benefits of the split practices, playing on 2 fields, and how many reps I was giving you to evaluate guys. Did it also – are you playing a little bit of catch-up, though, on the cohesion aspect? When did you start to break that down to where the 5-1s would be?
When we got into game plan prep stuff. So that's been long enough. Those reps now for us are full speed reps versus defense. That's how you're trying to simulate what we talked about earlier. So getting good on good or 1s versus 1s as much as you can do those, but not to an extreme. No, I don't feel that.
Hey, Justin, with
Last question.
The work with violence, have you noticed a discrepancy in the physicality between gap and zone this year at all?
No, it's just comfort at a place. I mean, I think we've been pretty universal, and we've had both of those on tape. But that's all game plan wise. Some teams match up, and you want to be able to do that. Other times it doesn't, and you feel like your zone stuff or full zone and things is better. So I think we've got a good mix of that. I think our guards are more comfortable just because they play a lot of ball. So if you have some pull schemes, they're pretty good. Our tackles have done some pulling. We feel like our tackles are pretty athletic. But if you get into a game week where that's not what's good on paper, then you might see less of those. But that has less to do with we feel comfortable like our guys can do that stuff more than anything else.
These guys gave up 400 yards rushing to their first opponent this year, South Florida and stuff. What problems do they present specifically Western Kentucky?
Well, schematically, I mean, they do a lot, so you've got to be really good in communication of how many downs are there, where they're at. So they do a lot. So that's just getting in rhythm with our guys during the week of, all right, what's called, what am I seeing, how do I go block it? And then, like we said, too, it's repetitive, but just put them in the right spots, in the right place where, there might be 8 different looks you have, but I'm doing the same thing on 6 of those 8. That's a good play. Versus if you're looking for that 1E or 2E that hits right only to this, less attraction to plays like that.
All right, we're going to bring in Coach Walton. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, guys.
Coach Walton, step on up. Thank you. Just. Oh.
Tim, you watch these guys on film, and it's like RPO after RPO after RPO. What sort of stress is that going to place on your secondary, and what do they have to do well against?
We just got to be good at matching those guys outside, because they do a good job of the RPO and then shooting the ball down the field off of it. And then the quarterback can run the ball well as well. So we got to be disciplined, and we got to make sure we match the outside down the field vertical game with that.
Is Josh back practicing?
Yes.
Do
Yep.
you expect him to start then, or
Uh,
to be determined?
Still to be determined. But we got him back. He's practicing. He's doing well.
So what about Jordan's skill set makes him a good fit in that nickel almost every out situation?
Smart, tough. He's a physical player. He understands the game. He processes things well. He has good cover skills, and he brings some toughness and competitive discipline attitude to the secondary.
When you have a corner who can play that spot, how much does that guy have to be willing to tackle from that position, maybe more than outside?
A lot, and he'll put his face in the fan. So that's what we like about him. I mean, like I say, he has some toughness about him. He has some physical play, very competitive, but he has an overall skill set, to cover, and he has a high football IQ.
How do you prepare your guys to against a team like this they're going to complete some passes? How do you prepare them for that? You will give up some passes.
We'll challenge all throws, man. We got to go play, and if quarterback is going to try to thread the ball, he trusts his arm strength. He's going to make those throws. We got to be attacking the ball at all time, and with that, hopefully we get some turnovers with that also.
Tim, when you look at your corners as a whole, what have you liked that they've done? What do you think needs to be tweaked, needs to be improved a little bit?
We just got to keep improving every week. Right now they are trying to attack the ball. They're tackling well. But we just gotta, each week, man, is a different set of issues and things you got to deal with. So we got to keep taking it one day at a time and create consistency, with communication, and those things. So we just got to keep gelling and create the chemistry that we want to get with the group.
Are you sort of at a point now where Denzel and Davison are outside and Jordan is in the slot? That's kind of their roles at this point.
A little bit, but we still move it around a little bit, man. Like you said, it's forever changing, you know what I mean? But that's kind of how it is right now, a little bit. But Jordan will work outside as well. We'll be moving guys around. We just have to always find the right mix. And, sometimes that things change based on who you're playing. We got to make sure we're tackling well. You know what I mean? The ball is out quick. I mean, he's good with run out the catch, so we have to make sure we're driving on the ball. We're wrap tackling with him. He's a big guy. You know what I mean? He's 210 pounds, so we got to they move him around. He'll be in different locations. We got to know where he's located, and we got to make sure we wrap tackling well, and we got to make sure we're contesting all the throws because we know they're going to try to get him the ball.
You guys have tackled pretty well at that position. How do you feel so far about quarter tackling?
It's been good so far, man. But like each week, man, got to keep doing it every day. Different set of challenges. They move guys around. There's a spread offense. They're a wide open tempo team, so we have to be ready to make sure we can match their energy with the different looks they're going to give us.
When you're facing a receiver like that, who's kind of the focal point of what they do, what is your philosophy on traveling corners with that player, or you just wherever he lines up, that guy's got?
We'll mix it up, man. We got to give them different looks. That's the thing we have to do. I think the quarterback is a sharp player. He got a pretty good arm. We just got to create different looks for him. We may do a little bit of both, just to try to keep them off. And then, like I said, it all depends on how the game is going. Whether we need to match or we're good. And it all depends on where they're putting it. They're moving him around enough too, so we just kind of got to adjust that as the flow of the game goes.
Sounds like Western Kentucky has your attention, and nobody's thinking about next week.
No, I never think about next week, man. You got to take care of the guy. This is a good offense, football team. So we got to make sure we go take care of business, and we got to be on all the fine details of executing a high-octane offense.
You have physical corners. What is the balance or the line between using that physicality but not letting it cross the line to draw that?
Yeah, guys usually handle that pretty good for the most part. We're gonna teach the competitive nature. This is a physical game. You gotta play on the edge. So our guys do that, and we'll be smart about it. You know what I mean? You got to obviously third downs and certain down and distances dictate now you have to play, but you want to be aggressive, you want to be physical, and you want to be making sure you're making your presence known.
When you played, how much did you like playing against quarterbacks who thought they could make every throw and fit it into every window?
Well, it was good, and you liked it because what happens is sometimes they'll throw it in the coverages that they may should not. But at the same time, they can make throws as well that usually other guys can't get in there. But you get playoffs. You know, you get play opportunities with that. So we just got to go do our job and make sure we're disciplined in our coverage responsibility and make sure we're keeping that ball inside and in the front.
What's it like in the corner room for a week when you're building up to a team like this that's going to throw it around as opposed to you're getting ready for a physical team that's going to run the ball? Like jacked up for this week?
Yeah, just different. You never know how the flow of the game goes. You know, the ball, we got to be ready to tackle as well because, you know, when you're throwing the ball quick in the screen game, that's nothing but, outside perimeter run game. You know, when they throw in the bubbles and throwing the ball on the edge of the perimeter, that's outside run game in reality. So they just using that as a substitute for outside zone and stretch plays. So we got to make sure we'll be involved in the tackling game as well. And then they'll sprinkle in enough runs, man. You know, with the running back does a good job that we got to be ready for that. And he will bounce the ball on the perimeter. Oh, we both of them, man. We moving guys around, you know, with that because of the fact that you got to have different looks. You know, some guys run the ball a little better at practice, and some guys throw it. So we try to keep them fresh, you know, and get our D line a good look with guys moving around. So we moving both of the guys around.
Is that a little bit unusual that you had to use two this week as opposed to most weeks you compare with just scout look?
Yeah, well, you do it. It all is week to week. You know what I mean? It all depends on who you're playing. Some guys have big arms. Some guys are real mobile. You know, so it kind of changes each week on how you got to operate with the look team.
Tim, maybe you were asked this already, and I apologize for asking it again if I am. What aspects of Western Kentucky's passing game could present some real issues for your guys out there on the edge or even on the inside?
Well, they spread out, man. They give you every look that's imaginable. You know, they spread it out. They push the ball down the field vertically. They're a tempo team. The quarterback has a good arm. The quarterback does a good job of looking guys off. You know, he's a seasoned guy. So, you know what I mean? They create and they like to vertically push the ball down the field and they'll run 4 and 5 wideouts at times. So they do enough to keep you honest. And then he moves around pretty well himself. I mean, he runs around, he can scramble, he can extend plays. So we just got to do a good job of being disciplined. It's a little different, but you know that's part of the game, man. You know you gotta adjust and go play ball. I think that's what comes down to the preparation, discipline, understanding the game, and you know you gotta go execute. I mean they're gonna still try to run the ball as well. You know they'll motion out and put the guys back in the backfield to run the ball. So they just try to create different looks, but you know they'll do enough of running that you have to be prepared for because it's coming from a spread set.
How do you think Denzel's looked and felt through the first 2 games?
I think he's doing well. You know, he's been consistent, been disciplined, taking it a game at a time. We take it a day at a time, really, on our approach to it. We're just trying to stack the days of preparing and being a little bit better than we were yesterday. So he's working at it, and he's focused and dialed in, man, on trying to be better every day and understanding how teams are going to try to attack us.
Defense lost leverage a few more times this week than they did against Indiana. How much of topic of conversation has that been this week? How spread out you guys are going to be?
Oh yeah, we got to keep the ball inside. You know, we got to leverage the defense. But that's the emphasis every week. You know, people get to it different ways. You know, sometimes it's with the back, sometimes it's with tight ends, the wide outs. That's just a fundamental base of our defense is, you know, to keep the cup on the ball. Just teams get to it different ways. We got to make sure we handling that this week.
Tim, you may have already talked about it. Jordan Hancock for a year for a load up. What have you seen that you really like out of him in the first 3 weeks? First 2 weeks. Toughness,
physicality, high football IQ, can cover in the slot, but brings a tenacious attitude. You know, he'll put his face in the fan in the run game. So he gives you a complete player in there. And he understands, you know, with being a high football IQ guy, things happen fast, but he can handle the thinking of it.
Has he embraced that slot?
Yeah.
I mean, when did the light come on for him from your vantage point?
Training camp. Yep, training camp. Yep, training camp was you know, is involved. You know, the nickel spot is involved a lot. You know what I mean? You're in the middle of the action, so it's good for him.
These last couple of years, you guys have had to go back to Denzel, had to throw 2 freshmen onto the field early in games in big ways. What you're getting to do now with Calvin and Jermaine, is that maybe a more conventional approach to this? Are they getting to develop at their own speed?
Yeah, they both coming. Yeah, they both coming at their own time. You know, Jermaine got a little bit of playing time, you know, like 10, 12 plays last week. They both coming. in their own ways, man. We just keep growing them, and we try to prepare them each week because you never know when that number's called, man. You have last year, you can all of a sudden be thrust into 25, 30 plays before you know it. So we got to prepare like that. So when the opportunity comes, they're ready to go.
Yeah, Jordan was saying that first pick that Denzel had can be infectious and then work and complement. When you were a player and as long as you coached, is that the way these things can happen, the takeaways?
Yeah, it just gives you a little confidence. You know what I mean? So if the group feeds off it, and the other guys now trying to have urgency to get theirs, so makes them feel good, makes them feel like they want to, be a part of that too. So they really detail their stuff with trying to go get the ball and when the playoff comes, being able to make the play. So it's a thing that we're looking to improve on from last season.
Coach, thank you so much.
Right.
This past week, is that a matter of trying to save his red shirt?
Was that?
Lorenzo, we didn't see him play last week. Are you guys still looking at possibly saving?
We're just trying to take a week at a time, man, and see how things play out. Good. Yeah.
Hey, Tim, ask you one question. You talked about that. Is that, have you seen a big jump like in that from the whole from those last years?
They just don't want us to eat.
It's a perfect example of a two-play scenario. Sends out with the hit, someone pops off, comes back in and gets a pick. Is that kind of what you're looking for out of this group? Jim and Brian talked about this before, about this group. We were all offensive players. When did you see that?
More detail.
Is there a moment that you remember that you were like, whoa?
Talk to these guys, really dialed in on detail, and then they talk and they're going to go, compete, right? And not a break, done, to the ball.
Good job, Garrett. Cool. I'm gonna go home. They said he's the last one. Okay.
No, I honestly heard them say that. Now, if that changes, it's not on me, but they said that.
I trust you. You're not the type of person who would.
No trivia, no leak.
He got a shirt on, and now he can't be seen in public. He reminds me of my neighbor who called a half niggas.